All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, and we're coming to you live tonight from Fullerton, California. Um, I just want everyone in the audience to understand something, and that is that what I'm about to discuss tonight, as a parent, is nothing more and nothing short of a parent's worst nightmare. Um, I put out a video on both of my channels the other day. It literally, uh, you know, I really don't know. I really don't know how else to say this except that it was the unbiased opinion of me. And it has been confirmed by a Korean news agency that a 14-year-old girl jumped to her death from the parking structure at Cal State Fullerton, and she was a freshman at Troy High School. For years, ladies and gentlemen, for years, I've warned the students and the parents and the school officials and the school district and the school board and the school employees of the pressure cooker that they're all part of over there. It was reported by the Korean news agency on AM 1190 yesterday and today, and I'm going to go public with this because they went public with it first, that this girl was a transfer student from out of the district. She tested into the Troy Tech program, from what I've been told, and I have several sources that have fed the information to me, that she was a straight A student all through her scholastic life until she got to Troy High School. And that the pressure to succeed at Troy High School drove her to kill herself, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I don't want to get into much more than the fact that this girl did kill herself because of the pressure at school. You know, look, folks, I have to tell you, I have a 14-year-old daughter, and right now she's in bed, and I kissed her goodnight, and, you know, lately she's been working on a painting, and, you know, studying her Bible, and I'll see her in the morning, and I look her in the eye, and she's a sweet, gentle girl. And, you know, folks, I do what I do because I'm a parent. I'm a parent of 4 children. And all I've ever done was call it like I see it when it comes to those who are harming children. And I want to make a statement right now. A year ago today, I stood on the sidewalk in front of Troy High School with a camera and a microphone. And I produced a video called Hell on Earth at Troy High School. And a year later, it has become a reality for the entire student body and this young girl's family. And what's even more disgusting about this entire thing is the cover-up that's going on and the whitewash that's going on, how no news agencies are covering this, how Fox News reported that this was an accident. I spoke with the public information officer today from the University Police, which is a state agency. And he called me back, and I asked him when we were going to have some details about this. And he told me that details will not be released because of the age of the decedent. Now, I want to bring your attention to the fact that he would not release what happened or what it is being investigated as. But I will tell you the facts that have been confirmed with me. It happened on Tuesday at 5 p.m. and her body was discovered in at the base of the parking structure, the southern parking structure on State College, and her body, still alive, was discovered by Cal State Fullerton students. She was alive at that point and taken to the hospital, and subsequently had died from her injuries in the morning. Now, that morning, Troy High School had suicide counselors all over the school. And there were several calls made to local news agencies. None were returned. No news coverage whatsoever, except Fox News stating that this was an accident. Now, the Korean news agency reported on this as a suicide. The social media reports all over the internet with the children, you know, I feel sorry for these students because they don't know how to handle this. And I will tell you, the video that I put up, you would not believe the comments from these students at Troy High School. The hatred, the death threats, the profanity, the vulgarity. You know, I know you kids are, you know, you're confused and you're upset and you're hurt. But, you know, Mr. Imbriano is a parent, okay? And I have a 14-year-old daughter that's in bed right now dreaming about her future. And this 14-year-old girl no longer has a future because the school took it away from her and the school administrators took it away from her. And from what I understand, the parents didn't see it coming. Parents were not aware of her struggle. Were school officials aware of her struggle? Were her peers aware of her struggle? Was her counselor aware of her struggle? I seek to determine whether that is the case. And if so, and if I do come to the determination that there was advance warning of this girl's problems, we will address that. As a parent, if you are parents out there watching me, if you're a parent of a child at Troy High School, you need to talk to your children, because this is not the first girl that this school has broken. And I want you all to understand that scholastics and academics are not the end-all be-all in life. Troy High School places a tremendous emphasis on its reputation, and in my opinion, to the detriment of the students. Troy High School has been the subject of various student threats within the past several years that involve law enforcement investigations that weren't limited to bomb threats and even plots to shoot up and blow up the school. I have been very vocal in my concerns over the grade ripoff over there, the grade suppression over there, the problems with the curriculum, with Common Core, with the competency of the teaching staff, with the moral fabric of the teaching staff. I've gone into discussing the sheet metal walls at the school and the effects of the radiation on these children. Microwaves cause depression. Microwaves are a detriment to the learning process. Microwaves make it hard to concentrate. Wi-Fi has a disorganizing effect on the brain. According to Martha Herbert, a pediatric neurologist on staff at Massachusetts General Hospital, she is a Harvard-trained pediatric neurologist, and she had made statements repeatedly to school districts not to put Wi-Fi in these schools. Dr. Martha Herbert, a pediatric neurologist, a Harvard-trained pediatric neurologist who looks at brain scans of children for a living, has gone on record years ago and stated not to put Wi-Fi in the schools because it has a disorganizing effect on the brain. And the long and short of her statements are that it is a detriment to the learning process. So if it's hard enough with the pressure, can you imagine how much more difficult it becomes with electromagnetic interference? To those of you who may not understand my involvement in this issue, for over 6 years, I have lobbied the elementary and the high school boards, district staff, parents, PTAs, and everyone involved with education, the foundations, the PTSAs, even the sports leagues in town, not to put the microwave systems in the schools, and they went ahead and did it anyway. I'm not blaming this girl's suicide on the Wi-Fi. Some of you students out there with your hateful, vitriolic, virulent, anti-free speech, death threats, and putting my address out on the internet, you need to grow up. And by the way, my house is covered with cameras. And if anything happens to my property, you're all going to go to jail, okay? Because everything you're going to do is going to get recorded. And those of you who have made your flyers, and I've got your names. I know who all you are. I've got kids at Troy who are feeding me information. I even have connections to some staff members there. So I know what's going on at that school. And I know who's who and who's posting and saying what. And you just lost a classmate due to the academic pressure and the grade deflation and the grade ripoffs that have been taking place at that school for years, compounded by a very unsafe learning environment because of the sheet metal walls and the microwave systems. And the solution to this problem is not to hide this problem. The Fullerton Joint Union High School District is doing everything it can to cover this up. There is no release of information in the media. There is no release of information on the network news. There is no coverage of this story in any of the newspapers. There is no coverage of this story anywhere except word of mouth on campus and the vitriolic, hate-filled death threat comments on my YouTube videos. Those are the platforms in which the tragedy is being downplayed, and the anger and the aggression is being redirected towards somebody, namely myself, who has spent close to a decade trying to protect you children and warn parents and warn family that this was going to happen. And it has happened. I know plenty of students that this school has literally broken. And when I put out that video, the day I learned of this girl jumping off the roof of that parking structure, I wasn't kidding when I went over all the things I covered. Now, it may have been a little difficult for some of you people to swallow, but you know what the biggest problem of all is? Troy has become your religion. Troy High School and your academics has become your God. And when your God turns on you, you circle the wagons and you protect it. This girl died a needless, tragic, horrific death. She suffered tremendously emotionally in the days up to the day she took her life. And then she suffered tremendously from the time she hit the ground all the way till the time she died in the hospital. And it didn't have to happen. The purpose of this video is to try to have you understand why I have such a concern. My son attended Troy High School for a short period of time, and we took him out. I have friends whose children have attended Troy High School for a short time, and they took their children out. This girl attended Troy High School for a very short time, and she took herself out. Some of the parents who have students at Troy High School wanted to take their students out, and they were not allowed to take their students out and were told they could not remove their students until open enrollment for the next year. Troy High School, in its present state, is a threat to the community. It is a threat to the students. It is time for the teachers to stop pushing these children so hard. And it is time for the arrogance of the administration to come to an end. And it's time for you students to realize that hiding and denying this problem's existence and putting a spin on the issue and trying to redirect aggression and blame to someone like me is not the way to handle this problem. And for the police department at the college to tell me that they will never release the details. I was told today that the information will never be forthcoming. They're not going to release the details. And so I have a question. As I hung up the phone with this public information officer, I thought of something. And okay, so we are living in a community where we have a lot of students, young girls, young men, young boys, elementary age, college age, high school age. And so if this girl was found at the base of a parking structure, literally, bleeding to death, obviously having fallen from the parking structure, and she was alone laying there. Obviously, she went there by herself. Okay. So that means that she didn't go there to hang out with her friends. She went there alone. Now, she could have been thrown off the parking structure by somebody who perhaps meant to do harm to her. Maybe she was murdered, right? That's a possibility. And if that's the case, then does Fullerton have a murderer on the loose on the college campus? Well, the way that the state police department and the school district is handling this, we don't know for a fact whether somebody threw this girl off the parking structure and killed her. We also don't know if she accidentally fell down, which is highly unlikely because I did go over there and I've seen the walls up there. You don't fall off the roof. You don't fall off the parking structure. It takes a tremendous amount of effort to get up on that wall and get over. So it's pretty obvious to me that she wasn't murdered. And it's extremely obvious to me that it wasn't an accident. And as a parent of a 14-year-old girl, to think that a school drove her to kill herself evokes emotions that I'm not prepared to convey or express to my audience. But I will tell you this. It's not going to happen again over there. It's not going to happen again at Troy High School, folks. It's up to you as parents to talk to your children. This girl apparently internalized a lot of her struggles. And she reached the end of her rope and walked across the street and jumped off the roof because she couldn't take it anymore. There are students at Troy High School after the tests are over that are crying in the halls. There are students at Troy High School that are crying out for help. There are students at Troy High School that are doping themselves up on Adderall and drugs. And there are students at Troy High School that go along with this and think it's okay for kids to cry and kill themselves, apparently. And they think it's okay to make death threats against Mr. Imbriano and put my name out on the internet and my address out on the internet. Well, I live right next door to Jesse Knowles, who is your media guy that helped put the Wi-Fi in your school. So if you guys want to know where I live right next door to Mr. Knowles, the gentleman that had school district officials in his living room promoting Wi-Fi at Troy High School to promote bringing in wireless technology into classrooms with sheet metal walls. So if you want to know where I live, that's where I live. And if you want to come over and have a cup of coffee with me, joeimbriano777@gmail.com. I'd be happy to talk to you. If you want to come over here and harm my family or harm any of my property, you're going to be on candid camera and I'll make you famous and eventually I'll put you in jail for it. So those are facts. In the meantime, for the student body that's still there, that has to go through this process of grieving and healing, I have some advice for you. I want you to look at your fellow classmates, and I want you to look at yourself, and I want you to look at your future, and I want you to look at your brothers and sisters. And ask yourself this question: is what is being done to you worth it? Is being pushed this hard really worth it? I have to tell you that it's not. Now, if the only thing that matters to you is that perfect SAT and getting into Harvard or Berkeley or Yale and pursuing your dream as some professional whatever, all I can tell you is if you want to graduate at the top of your class and you want to go to Harvard and you want to become this scientist that's going to find the cure for cancer, or some political figure that's going to solve the world's problems, let me tell you something right now. There already are people out there that have PhDs in biochemistry, in physics, in pediatric neurology. They have JD degrees. There are people out there right now that are warning all of you about all the things I've been warning you about how the technology addictions, the blue light, the screen time addictions, the microwave emissions don't belong in that school. And then to push the children to have regular classes, but they're really graded like AP classes to where they're actually getting C's and D's. This girl that killed herself was a straight A student her whole life. And I'm sure she was a joyful, happy-go-lucky young girl, and she probably was horrified when she realized what was happening to her there, and she couldn't take it anymore. And she jumped off the roof of that building. Why? Because the pressure at that school is inhuman. Now, there are some of you out there that are inhuman, and, you know, if need be, we can have your IP addresses traced, and we can find out who you are that have made those comments telling me to kill myself and, you know, to kill my family and things like that. If that's the kind of, and by the way, is that the kind of kids that are going to come out of that school and be our future leaders? Because to be honest with you, we're in a heck of a lot of trouble. I have all of those comments logged, every single comment on those videos before they were removed are in my possession. And the internet leaves no stone unturned. It's all traceable. Look at yourselves, Troy students. Look at how you've behaved during this. Look at what you've done. There's flyers of me floating around Troy High School with my eyes crossed out because I dared to expose how this pressure cooker killed this poor, innocent 14-year-old girl, and how the academic prowess of the student body is such that this is deemed acceptable. I can tell you right now, it's not acceptable. And let me get the name pulled up. Eli Daly is the student who put this this picture up with X's in my eyes. Can you see this? By the way, that's a copyright protected image there, sir. This is circulating on the Troy campus. It says "Stop Hate." It says this is not hate specifically against Joe Imbriano. Anti-hate flyers. Direct message me to get one tomorrow. I know it features Joe Imbriano, but the flyer is about stopping all hate, not just the hate spewed from the mouth of this jerk. This was from an Eli. What's his name? Eli Daly, Troy High School sophomore. You proud of yourself, young man? Is this how you deal with tragedy? By trying to attack the messenger who's trying to help you kids? I've been trying to protect the students at that school even when I didn't have any children going there. I was still out on that sidewalk trying to protect you children even when my son wasn't going there anymore. The kids got it all wrong. Your anger is directed towards the wrong person. I didn't kill that girl. Troy High School killed that girl. That girl died because Troy High School pushed her off the edge. And you want to know who carries the responsibility for that girl's death? It's not me. It's the academic pressure. It is the academic pressure cooker. It is the absolute ruthless competitive nature of the student body at Troy High School that killed this girl, not Mr. Imbriano. The blood is on the hands of everyone at that school. Because guess what? You're all part of a system there. You're all cogs in this wheel. And those of you who defend what is being done to the students there, there's no defense for it. There's a real problem with a select group of really arrogant students at Troy who seem to do just fine with the academics, but they have absolutely no grip on reality when it comes to how to communicate with people, how to deal with conflict, how to deal with crisis, and how to engage people that don't agree on something, and how to break the stranglehold of your Stockholm syndrome. Because you children that are defending this machine at Troy High School, you're a victim of Stockholm syndrome. Look it up. Study it. Mr. Imbriano is not pushing any personal agenda. And by the way, I've also heard that, oh, I'm doing this to get views, to make money. My channel's not monetized. There are no ads on my channel. I don't get paid for YouTube views. I'm not doing this for the money. And, you know, by the way, the threats to mail certain things to my PO box, those are federal offenses. And your parents hopefully will have a lot of money to deal with a federal court and magistrates and all the legal bills that goes along with federal charges and terrorism charges. Because I'll file and I will push the pedal all the way to the metal, because this girl died a needless death. And I'm not going to sit here and say I told you so. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I told you this was coming, because I don't need to say that, because I said it a year ago to this date on the sidewalk in front of that school. And do you know what happened? The school district doubled down. That's right. They stepped on the gas. They picked up and pushed up the pressure. So many of the incoming freshmen are literally going from a 4.0 to a 1.5. They're falling on their face. I explained for years at the school board meetings, and the only records of these school board meetings are in my possession, because the Fullerton Joint Union High School District has spent hundreds of millions of dollars on facilities improvements, and they still don't have a camera that records their school board meetings after all these years, because they don't want the public to hear what is discussed in those meetings. They do everything in their power to make sure that nobody hears what parents have to say in these meetings. That's why they have them on Tuesday nights, and they make us wait until the very end for public comments. That's right. They make us wait sometimes till 10 or 11 o'clock to talk for 3 lousy minutes. And they put this big screen behind our head and aim a light at our head with a thing that big, huge numbers, 259, 258, 257, right? Like, you know, we're going to explode or something. And then when it comes to a girl killing herself, because of her her world come crashing down on her. Her academic world came crashing down on her. When it comes to that, they don't want anybody to know about it. And this is a disgusting indictment to the Register, to the local news, the Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS, all the news. It's just a shame. Because here's the thing. We can't solve this problem of teen suicide and people wanting to kill themselves and wanting to shoot up their school or blow up their school if we pretend this problem doesn't exist. And then when it does happen, we just clam up and not talk about it and pretend like it didn't happen so it'll go away. It's not going to go away, ladies and gentlemen. And it's not going to go away there, young men and women. It's going to get worse. You know why? Because they keep ratcheting down the screws on the children, and they keep upping the stakes and increasing the pressure and the rigor. And more of these students are finding that they got a 4.2 from Troy High School and they can't even get into Cal State Fullerton because they're not high enough up in their class. You're better off going to Fullerton High School and having a high ranking over there and having a normal life. I've gone over enough tonight. My daughter will see me in the morning. I get to give her a kiss in the morning and tell her I love her and look her in the eyes, like I do every day, like I do every night before she goes to bed, like I do every morning when she has her breakfast, like I do with my other children. Every day I tell them I love them and I ask them how they're doing. Every day. Parents, you need to know what the heck is going on with your children. And if you're going to push your children off a cliff, get ready for someone to clean them up with a dustpan on the other side. It's happened. It's happened. Troy High School in Fullerton. One death is too many. Is your child going to be next? Who's going to be next? Until that school calls an emergency meeting with all the parents and gets to the bottom of this, it needs to be closed down. If Will Minster, the principal of Troy High School, doesn't immediately call an emergency meeting and has all 2,000 families, parents show up, they need to go have the stadium rented over there at the Fullerton High School, and they need to have an open-air public meeting with an open microphone and call all the parents and say, get over here. We need to have a come to Jesus meeting. We got a big problem on our hands. But that's not what Will Minster in the Fullerton Joint Union High School District and Superintendent Scott Scambray have done, or the state university police at the university have done. They have all gotten together and they have locked this down and they're trying to cover it up. That's why it's not in the news. And let me tell you something, folks. When you have children killing themselves because of academic pressure at a school, hiding the fact that a child killed themselves over academic pressure at a school only invites more children to kill themselves, because there are no solutions being proposed right now. More of the same, more fear, and more literal terror in these children. If they don't make the grades, they think their life is going to be over. And for you parents out there, for you tiger moms and you tiger dads, you think you're doing your child a service by pushing them to the brink and depriving them of their life and their happiness during the most fun years of their life, just so they can go get a useless degree somewhere and come back home and live with you and never get married and have no social skills and not be able to relate to society. Do you realize what you're doing to your children by pushing them so hard like this? There's a world out there that doesn't exist that you're going to find out does exist when it's too late, because they'll have hundreds of thousands of dollars of tuition debt and they're going to be living in your basement, and you're not going to have grandchildren because you push them through a system that has been microwaving them and brainwashing them, and has taken all your money, your hard-earned money, to do it. This whole thing with academics and scholastics, you all need to take a second look, because the schools are preparing children for jobs that don't exist and careers that are not going to be there when they finally get out. In the meantime, some of the most joyous, happy years of their lives are not the most joyous, happy years of their lives, ladies and gentlemen. This is Joe Imbriano, PO Box 4121, Fullerton, California, 92834, coming to you live from the studios of the Fullerton Informer in Fullerton, California, reporting on the teen suicide at Troy High School that no one wants to talk about. We just talked about it, folks. Let's just hope and pray in the name of Jesus Christ, in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, that nothing like this ever happens again, anywhere in my community. I ask for your prayers right now, because I am considering several actions against the school district that may have some severe consequences for several of the school officials and the school personnel, based on the information that I have been given by parents and staff. And I just want you to know that I do this not because I have some axe to grind like I've been accused of. I don't have any axe to grind, folks. This is a personal issue because it involves children. And I know people whose children have been affected by this school. I know these families personally. I know these children personally. And they're good children. And they're nice human beings. And their parents did the right thing. If your child is struggling, if your child is being pushed to the brink, it's not worth it, ladies and gentlemen. There is no price that can be paid to get somebody back from the grave, folks. And you can't put a price on happiness. Just can't. Some things money can't buy. All right. Good night, everybody. Have a blessed evening. And share this far and wide. And like I said, to all you Troy students out there, I know you're just teenagers. I know you're just reacting. But if any of you have any inklings of trying to pull something funny, I would strongly advise against it. Because like I said, you'll be a very famous criminal. This is Joe Imbriano. God bless and good night.